Your $80 white t-shirt, it probably cost less than $2 to make. That gap isn't quality. It's a logo tax. Today, I'll show you t-shirt brands that are stealing your money, and 5 where every dollar actually lands in the fabric. Number 10. Polo Ralph Lauren. Let's start with the one hanging in almost every man's closet. A classic Polo Ralph Lauren t-shirt retails between $45 and $75. The fabric is a standard 160 to 180 gram per square meter cotton jersey, the same weight class you'll find in mid-range basics that sell for $12. The landed manufacturing cost, including labor, fabric, and shipping from factories in El Salvador and Peru, sits around $5 to $9 per unit. The rest of the price climbs straight up into brand territory. Ralph Lauren's gross margin for fiscal year 2025 was reported at 68.6%. That means for every $60 polo tee you buy, less than $20 went anywhere near the actual shirt. The remaining $40 funded aspirational ad campaigns, polo ponies, and the idea that wearing this logo makes you part of something. Think about that for a second. 2/3 of what you hand over at the register never touched a loom, a needle, or a bolt of cotton. Here's the real kicker. The entry-level polo tee and the mid-tier custom slim fit version often come off the same contracted production lines. The difference in retail price is $20 to $30. The difference in fabric and construction is nearly zero. What changes is the marketing tier and the label inside the collar. Same factory, same machines, same cotton weight, different story attached to it, and a different number on the tag. It gets worse when you compare Ralph Lauren to what a genuinely premium tee at the same price actually looks like. For $60, brands with transparent supply chains are giving you heavyweight ring-spun cotton, domestic manufacturing, and documented fiber provenance. Ralph Lauren is giving you a pony. The brand's entire business model is built on the gap between what something costs and what people believe it's worth. And for decades, that gap has been enormous. You're not buying a better shirt. You're buying a more expensive story. And Ralph Lauren has been selling that story longer than most of us have been alive. Number 9. Gucci. Now we move from aspirational to what a lot of men consider the summit of casual luxury. A basic Gucci crew neck t-shirt retails between $400 and $700. No, that's not a typo. And no, the fabric does not come from another planet. The standard construction is 100% cotton jersey, typically sourced from Italian mills with a fabric weight landing around 200 to 220 grams per square meter. That is a solid cotton weight, but it's a weight you can find in premium basics for $30 to $50. Industry estimates for the cost of goods on a Gucci basic tee land between $18 and $35, covering Italian mill sourcing, Kering's in-house production oversight, and the embroidered or printed logo detailing. The markup from production cost to retail price sits somewhere between 12 and 25 times the manufacturing cost, depending on the style. Read that again, 12 to 25 times. On a t-shirt, what you're actually buying at $500 is real estate on your chest. The double G or the embroidered Medusa is a social signal, not a material upgrade. Kering, Gucci's parent company, posted a gross margin above 70% for years running on this exact formula. The cotton in your $500 tee is premium but not extraordinary. A Sunspel Sea Island tee uses rarer fiber and costs a fraction of the price. A Mertz B Schwanan loop-wheeled tee uses slower, more intensive manufacturing and sells for under $130. The story attached to Gucci is where the real price tag lives. It buys you recognition. It buys you a reaction when you walk into a room. It does not buy you a fundamentally different t-shirt. If the fabric were the point, this shirt would cost $60. The other $440 is the logo, the runway show, the campaign, and the carefully maintained illusion that this garment exists in a different category from everything else. It doesn't. It's cotton jersey. It just has better PR. Number 8, True Religion. True Religion built its entire identity on the idea that a logo could carry a price tag permanently. During its peak years in the mid-2000s, branded graphic tees from this label sold for $60 to $120. The horseshoe logo on the chest, the thick decorative stitching, the signature font across the back. all of it positioned as premium American denim culture with attitude. The reality behind that image was always a lot less cinematic. Manufacturing shifted across multiple low-cost countries, including Mexico, Bangladesh, and Turkey, with fabric sourced through standard mid-grade cotton jersey contracts. There was no proprietary fiber, no unique construction method, no documented supply chain worth talking about. The actual cost to produce a true religion graphic tee landed between $6 and $14. The rest of the markup was pure hype, built on celebrity placement and a very specific window of pop culture relevance that opened fast and closed even faster. When that window shut, the price collapsed with it. The same tees that retailed for $90 in 2010 now trade on the secondary market for $15 to $25. That is a loss of more than 70% in resale value. No quality product loses 70% of its value when a trend shifts. Only a logo does that because a logo's value lives entirely in perception, and perception is not permanent. The brand filed for bankruptcy twice, in 2017 and again in 2020. That's the clearest market verdict possible on what happens when a price is built entirely on cultural momentum with nothing underneath it. You weren't buying a great t-shirt. You were buying a trend with an expiration date, and like every trend, it expired. What you're left with is a piece of mid-grade cotton jersey with a horseshoe on it and no story left to tell. Number 7, Versace. Versace sells you mythology. The house, the family drama, the Medusa, the Baroque prince. It's one of the most recognizable visual identities in fashion, and it uses that identity to charge you for a t-shirt the way most brands charge for a tailored jacket. A Medusa logo tee from Versace retails between $350 and $600. The fabric is typically a 190 to 210 gram cotton jersey, finished and cut in licensed facilities rather than a single heritage atelier with continuous oversight. Versace's manufacturing has been managed under the Capri Holdings umbrella, with production spread across licensed contractors in Eastern Europe and parts of Asia, depending on the product tier. The cost of goods on a standard Versace graphic tee, including the screen printing or embroidery, fabric, and finishing, is estimated between $20 and $40. From there, the price multiplies 8 to 15 times over before it hits the retail floor. That multiplier is not paying for better cotton, it is paying for the Medusa. What's quietly missing from the Versace tee conversation is any meaningful discussion of what makes the garment itself worth more than a comparable premium basic. There is none. The fabric weight is nothing special. The construction is standard. The cut is unremarkable. What you are buying is the right to wear a gold Medusa head on your chest and have people recognize it. That recognition is the product. The cotton is just the vehicle it arrives on. Capri Holdings, which also manages Michael Kors and Jimmy Choo, applies the same formula across its entire portfolio. Strong visual branding, aspirational positioning, and a retail price calibrated to feel exclusive rather than reflect manufacturing reality. At Versace today, the myth is the margin, and the margin is enormous. Number 6, Supreme. Supreme belongs in a category of its own because the mechanism of the ripoff here is different from every other brand on this list. A basic Supreme box logo tee retails at $40 to $54 directly from the brand. The fabric is a heavyweight 350-gram cotton fleece or jersey depending on the season, a genuinely solid spec. The landed manufacturing cost is estimated around $6 to $10. At retail, the markup is aggressive but not outrageous compared to what Gucci or Versace are doing. The problem is what happens next. The box logo tee hits the secondary market within hours of release and sells for $150 to $400 depending on colorway, season, and cultural moment. That resale markup is where the real theft happens. Not theft by Supreme necessarily, but theft enabled by Supreme's deliberate system of manufactured scarcity. Limited drops, no restocks, artificial urgency. The brand controls supply with surgical precision to keep demand permanently inflated. Supreme, now owned by EssilorLuxottica after VF Corporation sold the brand, has built a machine where the actual quality of the product is almost beside the point. A 350-gram cotton tee is a good tee, but it is not a $400 tee. The difference between $54 and $400 is not fabric. It is a queue, a reseller, and a culture that has decided a red box with white letters is worth more than everything underneath it. The construction is clean. The stitching is consistent. The cotton is real. None of that justifies what buyers on the secondary market actually pay. You are not buying a shirt. You are buying access to a social club where the membership card happens to be made of cotton. That's an impressive business model. It is not a case for honest value. Number 5. Mertz B. Schwanan. Now the list flips entirely. Mertz B. Schwanan is a German brand that has been producing t-shirts in Albstadt, Baden-Württemberg since 1911. The factory has been running for over a century, and the production process has deliberately resisted modernization in the areas that matter most. That resistance is the entire value proposition. The brand uses loop-wheeled knitting machines. These are slow, vintage pieces of equipment that rotate at a fraction of the speed of modern industrial knitters. The slower rotation reduces tension on the yarn during the knitting process, which produces a fabric with a fundamentally different character than high-speed jersey. The loops are more relaxed, the hand feel is softer, and the structure is more elastic without losing its recovery. Modern high-speed knitting compresses yarn under tension, producing a tighter, stiffer fabric that feels newer but breaks down faster and pills more readily. Loop-wheeled fabric is denser in a way that doesn't read as heavy. It drapes rather than holds. It softens with washing rather than degrading. And it maintains its structural integrity across years of wear in a way that standard jersey cannot match because the fiber stress during production was lower to begin with. A Mertz B. Schwanan basic tee retails between $80 and $130. The markup is real, but the manufacturing cost behind it reflects German domestic labor, slow production equipment, and high-grade combed ring-spun cotton processed to remove short fibers before the yarn is even formed. Removing short fibers is what separates ring-spun cotton from carded cotton. The surface is smoother. The pilling resistance is dramatically higher. The yarn is more consistent. Longtime owners report these shirts lasting 10 to 15 years of regular wear with no structural failure. Run that math. A $100 Mertz tee worn 3 times a week for 12 years costs you fractions of a cent per wear. 3 $25 fast fashion tees that each last 18 months before falling apart cost you more in the same time period and leave you with a drawer full of pilling cotton. This is not nostalgia. This is arithmetic. Number 4. Sunspel. Sunspel has been making t-shirts in Long Eaton, England since 1860. That continuity of production is not a marketing line. It is a verifiable manufacturing record stretching back over 160 years in the same country. The brand's signature tees, built from Sea Island cotton, sit in a different tier of raw material from almost everything else sold at any price. Sea Island cotton is grown in a narrow geographic range in the Caribbean, primarily Barbados and the islands of the West Indies. The fiber length of Sea Island cotton runs between 38 and 44 millimeters. Standard upland cotton, the kind used in the vast majority of t-shirts, including many premium ones, has a fiber length of 22 to 32 millimeters. Longer fibers produce finer, smoother yarn with less surface fuzz. Less surface fuzz means less friction against skin and dramatically reduced pilling over time. The fabric drapes with a fluidity that shorter staple cotton simply cannot replicate regardless of how it is processed. Sunspel sources this cotton through documented supply chains and publishes fiber provenance on its premium product pages so you can actually verify what you're paying for rather than accepting a claim on faith. The t-shirts retail between $90 and $175 depending on the cotton grade and cut. The production in Derbyshire maintains quality oversight that a contracted offshore facility cannot replicate with equivalent consistency. The markup sits around 3 to 4 times the landed production cost. Compare that to Gucci's 12 to 25 times. Compare it to Ralph Lauren's margin of nearly 70%. Sunspel's ratio reflects material scarcity and manufacturing cost, not a campaign budget. Independent reviewers and longtime customers consistently report a lifespan exceeding 10 years for the classic Q82T with basic care. There is no celebrity involved. There is no drop. There is a factory, a rare fiber, and over a century of practice producing the same product better each decade. Number 3. Velva Sheen. Velva Sheen is a Cincinnati, Ohio brand that has been producing basics since 1932. It is not a heritage brand in the fashion sense. It does not run campaigns. It does not do collaborations with streetwear figures or court editorial coverage. It makes t-shirts in America and has done so without interruption for over 90 years. That consistency is the argument. The core construction detail that separates Velva Sheen from almost every competitor at any price point is the tubular body. Most t-shirts are cut from flat fabric panels and sewn together at the sides. That side seam is where garments fail first. With repeated washing, side seams twist outward, pulling the shirt's shape off axis. With wear, they stretch and weaken at the stress points near the hem and underarm. Remove the side seam, and you remove the failure point entirely. Tubular construction knits the body of the shirt as a continuous cylinder, producing a garment with no seam from hem to underarm on either side. The fabric weight runs 6 to 7 ounces per square yard, placing Velva Sheen firmly in the heavyweight tier. Most fast fashion brands operate in the 3.5 to 4.5 ounce range because lighter fabric costs less and cuts more units from a given bolt. Velva Sheen is not optimizing for cost per unit. It is optimizing for longevity per garment. The difference is immediately apparent when you hold one. Retail prices land between $40 and $70 depending on the style. All production stays in the United States, which means labor costs are real and factored honestly into the price. The markup is not padding a licensing fee or covering a runway show. It is covering American workers, American machinery, and a fabric specification chosen for durability rather than margin. In a market full of cotton jerseys engineered to be replaced every season, Velva Sheen is quietly doing the opposite and has been for nearly a century. Number 2, Organic Basics. Organic Basics is a Copenhagen brand that does something almost no t-shirt company at any price point bothers to do. They show you the math. On the product page for their organic cotton and tencel tees, the company publishes a full cost breakdown. Materials, labor, transportation, their own margin. All of it openly in plain numbers that any shopper can read before clicking buy. The retail price sits between $35 and $55 for a standard tee. The disclosed gross margin is well below the 50 to 70% range that defines both fast fashion and luxury. That disclosure alone separates Organic Basics from every brand on the wrong side of this list. Ralph Lauren will not show you its cost breakdown. Gucci will not show you its cost breakdown. Organic Basics does it on the product page as a default. The fabric choices are equally specific and verifiable. GOTS certified organic cotton comes with a certification chain you can look up independently. It means no synthetic pesticides or fertilizers in the growing process, independently audited at every stage of production from farm to finished fabric. Their tencel lines use a closed-loop solvent manufacturing process where 99% of the chemicals used in fiber production are captured and reused rather than discharged. These are not marketing claims. They are ISO verified industrial processes with documentation to back them. The construction holds up. Double-stitched hems resist unraveling through repeated washing. The fabric weight in the 160 to 180 gram range for their basics is honest for a mid-weight daily tee. Sizing is consistent across production batches, which sounds basic but is a real quality control failure point for brands using multiple contracted factories simultaneously. Organic Basics uses a tight, disclosed supply chain, and it shows in the product consistency. You know what you paid for, you know where it came from, you know the margin taken. That level of honesty is rarer in this industry than a genuinely good tee. Organic Basics offers both. Number 1, Jackman. First place goes to a Japanese brand that most men outside Japan have never encountered. Jackman was founded in Osaka in 1920 and has spent over a century doing a single thing with uncommon focus, making knitted garments in Japan in the same city without drifting toward cheaper production or outsourced manufacturing. Every t-shirt is produced in Osaka using circular knitting machines that run at deliberately slower speeds than modern industrial equipment. The principle behind this is the same one that makes Mertz B Schwanan exceptional. Slower knitting means less tension on the yarn as it forms into fabric. Less tension during formation means the fiber retains more of its natural character, producing a softer hand feel, a more relaxed loop structure, and a drape that no high-speed knitting machine can replicate regardless of the fiber quality it starts with. The cotton Jackman uses is a high-grade long staple variety, combed and ring-spun to eliminate short fibers before the yarn is formed. Long staple fibers produce smoother yarn. Ring spinning tightens the remaining fibers into a more consistent, less fuzzy strand. The combination of fiber quality and slow knitting produces a fabric that behaves differently from the first wear. It feels broken in without actually being broken in. It softens progressively through washing without losing structure. It holds color across dozens of wash cycles without the fading and graying that plague standard jersey. Jackman tees retail between $60 and $110, depending on weight and style. The entire production chain is local to Japan, with no outsourcing to lower-cost facilities in Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe. The markup reflects Japanese domestic labor rates and genuine material costs, not an advertising budget or a licensing fee paid to a trademark holder. There are no billboards, no celebrity partnerships, no engineered drops to manufacture demand. The brand does not need any of that because the product does the work.